Hey everyone, Board Game Bro here. Today I'm going to share with you an opinion I hold so vile, so repugnant that I fully anticipate being excommunicated from the board gaming community at large. I'll just say it. I think the digital version of Gloomhaven is much better than the physical version. I blaspheme, I know, but even though this game has been top of the charts of Board Game Geek since basically the day it showed up 3 years ago, I think it's got some major problems, some really big obstacles that make this game difficult to play. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Gloomhaven. It's incredible. It got dungeon crawling and leveling up my character, secret quests and unlocking new heroes, taking down swarms of enemies and ruthless bosses, incredible strategic elements and difficult decisions at every turn. This game touches me in all the right places. It knows just where to go to find my nooks and crannies. It comes to me in Gloomhaven's like, oh, Board Game Bro, what do you want? I'm like, oh, you know Gloomhaven, you know. And it's like, oh, I know. I'm just going to get in there and I'm going to... That's enough of that. Truly, I love this game, but for all the allure of this gargantuan box, there's just a lot of obstacles for this thing hitting the table. And when a campaign takes you anywhere from 50 to 75 scenarios, that means obstacles could stack up and you might not finish it. In the digital version, I feel like it gets rid of most of the obstacles that I'm going to discuss today. And oh my gosh, I am loving this game right now. 40 hours in, rookie numbers, I know, but I bought it 2 weeks ago. Still, tons of content to get through. Right now it's in early access. It's not without faults, but I cannot stop playing this game. All the things that originally got me excited about Gloomhaven just absolutely shine brighter in the digital version without any of the distractions or inconveniences of the physical version. For much of this video, and basically starting right now, I'm going to discuss the glaring downsides of the physical board game and show you why I think that the digital version is better. I have 4 main reasons. Reason number 1. The game is arduous to set up. My wife and I used to play incredibly frequently. I felt like I was spending as much time actually setting it up as I spent playing the game. The game's very appeal, its ever-progressing story, and the diverse map settings became its own weakness. Let me show you what I mean. Setting up a scenario is going to happen in 3 stages. Setting up the map tiles, then we're going to put out the obstacles, and last we're going to pull all of the monsters out. But first, setting up the map tiles. We'll just use the scenario book to tell us what tiles we're going to need. There's 30 of them in total, and they're all double-sided, so it's fairly annoying to look through. You can go faster than this if you use like an accordion folder to organize the map tiles, but still, this part only took me 3 minutes, so there's not a whole lot of time to cut out here. Next, we've got to put the obstacles out. There's 155 of those, and many of them are also double-sided. It's also a little annoying to put these out because you can only set up the first room in your scenario. The other obstacles, you're going to have to set those to the side, and you'll need to interrupt the game later to set those up once you open those doors. After that, you've got to put together all of the enemies. These are similar to the obstacles in the fact that you can only set up the first room. In the other rooms, you'll need to just set the tiles to the side. You'll also need to make sure that you put the right bases on all of the enemies, white for the normal enemies and yellow for the elite. I didn't even include pulling out the enemy cards or their stat sheets because just use the app. The app is way better for this, and if you're not using it, you're just kind of a masochist. So I'm going to be a realist here when timing it. At this point, we're only kind of done setting up because again, anytime someone opens up a new room, you're going to need to stop the game and set that room up. Even ignoring those last 2 steps, this took me 20 minutes and 55 seconds. I'm just going to round it and call it 21 minutes. This is just the first part of the obstacle in this game getting table time. Now, I'm no stranger to games that take a while to set up, but what makes this uniquely frustrating to Gloomhaven is the fact that it's supposed to be one long cohesive story, which means when you play Gloomhaven, you're likely trying to play this game incredibly frequently. And long setups make me less and less excited to play the next scenario. Not only that, but just setting it up. All of the excitement of kicking down a door and moving into the next room is gone because in order to set up the game, I have to know what is going to happen in the next room. And in the digital version, it just happens. I click on the scenario that I want to go into, it loads for a second, and then bam, I'm in the game, I'm playing and I'm not having to worry about any setup. All right, next beef and reason number 2 that I think that the digital version is better. You have to spend lots of mental energy and time just managing the baddies that you're trying to kill. And the problem only gets worse with every player that you add to the game. There's going to be a situation where you've got 12 enemies out on the field, and the rules to move an enemy unit is actually incredibly complicated. It may seem nice and straightforward, but I promise you, you will do it wrong eventually, and it will have an impact on the game. You may not realize it at the time, but eventually you'll look back and realize you've been questing for 17 hours and have been moving monsters around wrong the entire time. Don't believe me? There's a 15-question quiz on Board Game Geek that I'll put in the description that goes through the scenarios. First time I took it, it was embarrassing. To be fair, the rules have to be tricky. In order to make these enemies feel smart and alive and strategic, there needs to be a list of rules and priorities that the enemy follows. But those priorities change sometimes, based on the environment or their own status effects, or based on the number of heroes present, or how many of them they are allowed to target with their attacks, even what cards you and your allies have played. So a flying creature with ranged attack may move differently than a melee fighter that has a negative status effect on him. And they should move differently. But when there's 12 enemies on the board, you have to move them all. It can get really distracting from the game. Now, the digital version doesn't alleviate you fully from understanding how the monsters have to work, but look, on the monster's turn, I try to plan what will happen for strategic purposes alone. And besides that, voila, it's done. Now I have more time to focus and to worry about what I'm going to do and how I'm going to react, and not with worrying about hand managing the minutiae of the NPCs. The third reason that I think the digital version is better than the physical involves the storage. And I don't just mean literally storing this game, even though it is gigantic, but saving the game might be more accurate, because this is, after all, a cohesive story. You're going to have to stop playing between sessions occasionally, and that means you're going to have to put it away in such a manner that you can pull it back out in the same state that you put it away in. And that can be a real challenge, especially with the ever-growing list of cards that become available to your player. And then you've also got the ones that you normally use that you probably want to select. Also, there are certain ones that are locked away you can't see yet, but there are some that you've unlocked that just aren't available to you yet. Combine all that with the fact that you've got to put away cards for your hero that the items. You've got to put away the ones that are in the store, and you've also got to hide the ones that are locked still. Also, there's the attack modifiers that are going to go in and out of your deck, and you've got to know which ones go where. And in fact, you've got to save the ones that you remove from your deck, because you're going to use those again in a very specific order whenever you go into a new hero. It's an ever-growing list, and I haven't even mentioned all of the components. This game is almost as arduous to put away as it is to set up. Compare this to the digital version, and the digital version has an autosave. You don't have to do anything. When you're done, you're done. And seriously, I don't think I need to tell you why the size of the digital game is likely better, but just know the sheer mass of this game is equivalent to that of a 430-page book, a Bluetooth speaker, a aluminum baseball bat, a cymbal, and my cat, Scar, who refused to participate in this, but rest assured, I did the measurements. And the fourth reason that the digital version is better, the price. I mean, as of recording this, it was $101.99 on Amazon. Compare that to Steam, $25. In fact, I got mine for $19 because I got it on sale. And for $25, this game is amazing. Now, that comes with a few caveats of its own. Depending on when you're watching this, the game is in early access. It's admittedly missing some components that are going to be needed to make this game the true Gloomhaven physical killer I know it's destined to be. For starters, the campaign is missing. Yep, that book full of scenarios, just not a thing. I know, disappointing, but the campaign is going to be released. In the meantime, they've actually released this different campaign. It's called Guildmaster. I've played a lot, and I'm not anywhere close to done with it. It's also unique because you don't retire heroes in the Guildmaster. Honestly, I really like that part. I really like building my characters up without retiring them. You can just switch characters in and out whenever you feel like it, which right now I never do, but that has more to do with my dependency issues. The other big issue here is the fact that there is no multiplayer out yet. They very recently went into beta for it, so by this point, it's probably going to come out very soon. In the meantime, I have very much enjoyed playing solo as 4 heroes without multiplayer. At first, it's incredibly overwhelming, but I ended up getting used to it after only a couple hours. And if you don't want to play as 4, no problem. You can play with just 2. I definitely encourage you to go through the intro videos because it kind of warms you up to playing with more and more heroes. And if you've never played Gloomhaven at all, I mean, the tutorials are kind of a must-do. But that's another great thing about this. If you're new to the game, it is going to walk you through, and you're never going to get confused on the rules. Another issue is they only have 7 playable heroes right now, which to me is the saddest part. There are some amazing characters in this game, but the good news, the normal 17 are planned to be released as well when this game goes from early access to full launch. For those of you who aren't convinced that the digital version is better, you might be right. If moving the characters around the board and moving the NPCs and that tactile experience is just part of the game for you, or if putting a sticker on the map just does it for you, then I'm not going to convince you that the digital version is better. In fact, it's the things that you may have enjoyed that I found to be the obstacles that kept me from getting to the end of this campaign. The digital version, in my mind, solves those problems, and for that reason, I think it's better. This game will always hold a special place in my cold and drunken heart, and despite having the digital version, I'm not going to get rid of it. I just like this game too much. Some of the shortcomings I've mentioned have actually been solved a bit in other versions. The Jaws of the Lion that just came out really helps on the setup. They use a map that is from a book that keeps you from having to put out these individual tiles. It's a very elegant solution. I bought Frosthaven knowing full and well that this game is not perfect for me. The game is still marvelous. And that's it. Those are the reasons that I think the digital version is better than the physical version. If you liked this content, please hit the like button, especially if this is helping you figure out which of the versions are best for you. If you want to see more of this content, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. All of that really helps me on the YouTube algorithm, so I'd really appreciate it. I hope to see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Get out there and game.